Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. That Mrs. D, she says, thank you for joining me. Well, I thank you very much for joining me today. It's another day, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about, but you know what? Something always occurs, and I think I know. The 11th chapter. Sit down, get your coffee. I got mine. That is my favorite coffee. So here we go. Flipping. I'm a flipper. So, good morning, kiddos. All y'all out there in YouTube land, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate each and every one of you. But I'm going to share right quick this morning an opening prayer. You know, we're not the only people that sometimes you think, how should I pray? What should I say? And our pastor preached on it some time ago about the perfect prayer. And this is the model prayer. In the 11th chapter of Luke, it says, now it came to pass, as he was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, that one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray. See, even the disciples wanted help. We all need help, and they wanted help from Jesus. So these are Jesus' words. So, Lord, teach us to pray. And John also taught his disciples. So Jesus said to them, when you pray, say, and this is what you say. And you can memorize this prayer. It's a really good prayer. A lot of people know it by heart, and I do, but I'm going to read it to you out of my Bible. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. That means honored above all, hallowed. Your kingdom come, your will be done in our life, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins. For we also forgive everyone. And the old way to say it, forgive us as we forgive others who trespass against us. So we need to forgive so God can forgive us. That's very clear there. For we also forgive everyone who is indebted to us. And do not lead us into temptation. God don't lead us into temptation, children. That's the devil. Jesus was telling them how to pray. But deliver us from evil, and your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What a wonderful prayer that Jesus gave them to pray. And that's not the King James. This is the New King James. And the words are a little different than what I had memorized. But it says, forgive us as we forgive others who trespass against us. And if we don't forgive others, we tie God's hands. And he can't forgive us if we don't forgive others. So we have to be like Jesus and forgive them and let it go. Forget it. It's not the end of the world. What is the end of the world if we go out of here and don't know the Lord? And I'm 91 and I don't know when that's going to happen. Because, I know I'm in the last years of my life, days of my life. Sunset, the sun is about to go down. But kids, God has blessed me to let me get acquainted with y'all and talk to you and tell you about my life. And today I'm going to tell you about what it was like when I first got married to Buddy. And we were from down in Tennessee. And he had brothers and a lot of relatives down there. And so when we got married, a friend of his had a station wagon. You know what a station wagon is? Kind of like an SUV. I don't think they make station wagons anymore. But he said, okay, we're going to Virginia and visit my brother, Bus. His name was Bascall. That's an Appalachian name, I reckon. Maybe I don't know. I never heard tell of it. But we went down to visit Bascall. And we called him Bus. And he had a lovely family, a wife named Azalee, and kids. And one of them was named, I forget her name. But we went down there, and I'll tell you what, Tennessee, Appalachian, when you go to visit them, and this was like when I was 16, back in 1951. And they were as poor as they could be. They lived in a big 2-room cabin back in the woods, and they had to go a long ways to get to the store. But you know what? They had a thing called the traveling store. And the traveling store was a bus. And it would travel those back Appalachian roads, and it would have bologna, a light bread, and soup. It would have pinto beans and potatoes. What you really had to have was on that traveling bus. And you could, grocery bus, and you could go out and meet it. It had a schedule to go by, and that's how a lot of people got their groceries, because a lot of them did not have a car. They just didn't. So that was a real godsend to a lot of people. So we went down to visit Asley and Bus. And when we went, we took another couple with us. They were the ones that had the station wagon. After we didn't take them with us, we went with them. So we pulled in, and Buddy told them we're visiting. I mean, unexpected. There's no phones. You can't tell them you're coming on, we're going to be there. You just go right in on them. And they said, oh, you got here in time for supper. So she started chopping up some more taters and frying some more taters, because she was feeding her family, and I think she had one little boy and 2 or 3 girls. I don't remember. That's been a long time ago. So anyway, they just treated us like royalty. They said, are you staying tonight? And Buddy said, well, yeah. Well, you know what they do in that age? I mean, they didn't have many beds, so they would sleep on the floor somewhere in front of the fire and give us the beds for us to sleep in. And then the next day, we stayed for breakfast, and they did have some chickens, so we had gravy and eggs and biscuits, because you always kept a big sack of flour and baking powder, and you always made biscuits and gravy. And if you had chickens, we had eggs. So then Buddy decided to stay for dinner. And for lunch, before we headed back, because it's only about 2 hours to home. And so she started opening her canned goods, because they have a big garden. And so she opened her green beans and some of her tomatoes and canned peaches and made a cobbler. And we had the best lunch. So that's the way when they went all out, even if you came on them unexpected. So I told Buddy, we got to quit doing that. That's not nice. And so later on in years, when we would go down and visit his other brother who smoked, and that was Roscoe. His name was Roscoe, and we called him Ross. And he had a wife, and she was some cook. She kept pinto beans on the stove every day cooking for him, because you couldn't save them over, because he would not eat soup beans that had been carried over. So she cooked enough pinto beans every day. I mean, every day. You put a little fat back. Now, a little fat pack is a little piece of pork, of fat, that they kept on hand. You could buy it at the store, or the traveling store, which now Ross had a car, so they could go to the store. But Buzz didn't have one. Later on, he got one. But when we would go down there, they had a spare bedroom, and they would give us their bed rather than putting us in the spare bedroom. And cigarette smoke was so bad in that place that I couldn't hardly sleep. And I told Buddy, as the years went by, we did that 1 or 2 times. I said, we're going to get a motorhome or stay in a motel. I said, I cannot take that anymore. It's killing me. So after a few years, the next time we went, I should say, maybe a time or 2 later, we told them, we said, well, we're going to stay in a motel. We're not going to put y'all out, and we'll come see you tomorrow. So that's what we did. And then I told Buddy, we need to buy a motorhome. If we're going to visit them people, which you want to visit them often, this was in later years, we bought us a little motorhome. And when we went down, we would just park our motorhome, and when we got tired and sleepy, we just went out where there was no smoke or anything like that. Of course, Buddy smoked, but he didn't smoke in the camper. It didn't stink like their place did. He was a heavy smoker. Buddy didn't quit smoking until he was in his 40s. He started when he was around 12, 13 years old smoking. His mother dipped snuff. Everybody down in Virginia, down in Tennessee and Virginia and Kentucky used tobacco. I never did. I did try one time. I told you about that. When I was in high school, 8th grade, well, when you went to Fredericksburg School, which was 5 miles from Hardinsburg, you had to move and go to Hardinsburg, which was 5 miles further on down the road. So anyhow, they had a toilet outside, a 4-holer for the girls, and then they had a big restroom for the boys, another 4-holer, I presume. I never went in it. But my girlfriends and I was down there one day, and one of them had a pack of cigarettes. She said, we're going to smoke today. And so she got out one. She said, here. She passed it around to the other 3 girls and me. And she said, here you are, try it. You'll like it. Well, she said, just inhale it in deep. And I did. And kiddos, I instantly was so dizzy I couldn't hardly stand up. I mean, it was awful, awful. And I said, no. And I started taking deep breaths of pure fresh air because that was awful. But do you know some of those other girls got addicted to cigarettes? That was Luella Jenkins. She's already dead and gone. A lot of those girls are gone. One of my classmates at 32 years of age got ovarian cancer and left a couple of little kids. And she was so beautiful. She had natural curly hair, ringlets that came down. I always wanted hair like that. I could buy me a wig like that. Now they got them in Paula Young. But this is my new wig and I like it real well. I called my brother last night, Dennis, the one that played the guitar. And people enjoyed seeing my brother Dennis sing because he's about 74 years old. And he learned in later life how to play the guitar. And he did good. And so he learned that song, there's a little rosewood casket sitting on a marble stand, a package of old love letters written by a true lover's hand. And he was singing that song. It's a real old song that Mama used to sing. So I was talking to him last night and I said, people really like that because I put it on YouTube and TikTok and it's got 900 hits on TikTok and people like it. And he said, I'm practicing. So he's practicing, but I said, Denny, you need to get a new set of strings. Now, Buddy Baird was a singer and a guitar player, and he changed his strings probably every 6 months or so. He'd buy a new set of strings because they lose their tone. And I noticed, don't y'all pay no attention to me, but he needs a new set of guitar strings. And I said, Denny, you know, I think maybe you need to buy you a new set of guitar strings. He said, well, you know, these on this guitar, they're probably 20 years old. He said, I can still tune them. I said, I believe you'd be better with the new set, so I don't know what he's going to do. He does whatever he wants to do. He's 74 years old, enjoying life. Me too. But he's such a good buddy. Denny is, Denny and Patricia. Don't you like my scenery? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Those falls just keep on rolling. I would like to be sitting out there by it somewhere in the nice summer breeze blowing. See, in the corner the weeds are blowing. So I just enjoy it sitting right here in my big room where my studio is at my house. So I don't know if he'll get a new set of strings or not, but we hope he does it. We hope my brother Dennis does us another song sometime. I said, get with it, boy. He says, I'm practicing. So good. Because, you know, to learn something like that late in life, that's a real achievement. I'm proud of him. I cannot play the guitar. The Lord knows I tried. When I was 13 and 14, Mom let me use her guitar to learn a song. And there's a song that goes about the weeping willow tree. Bury me beneath the weeping willow. And I thought it was a beautiful song. It's really a sad song, but I thought it was pretty. Mom could sing it, so I thought I'm going to learn how to do that. G, C, and D. I am not gifted with music. And you know it's a miracle of God. Now, Buddy was really talented, and he learned to play the guitar on a 4-string guitar because he couldn't afford a full set of strings, he told me. Of course, didn't know him then. And he said on Saturday night down there in Tennessee, Friday and Saturday, they would walk with a lantern or a miner's cap over the mountain to somebody's other house to get together. Those Tennessee hillbillies would, those Appalachian people, and they would all gather on a porch, and his daddy played the banjo, and he had a banjo, and he could play that thing. And Mama Baird, that's his wife, my mother-in-law, was so jealous. She said, "You're just going over there to see some other woman. That's what you're doing. You're just trying to..." No, he just loved to play music. And him and Buddy would go, and when Buddy was little, he would go with his daddy, and he'd take that 4-string guitar. And musicians come out of those woods. They're everywhere. We used to go camping. We bought us a camper when we finally could afford one. And we would go down and visit down in Appalachia. And we would stop at a campground between here and there. And Buddy would get his chairs out, and he'd get his guitar out and start singing just for his own pleasure and for me to listen. Next thing you know, there would be a group. They came out of the woodwork. They would bring their chairs, and they would gather around, and they would listen to Buddy sing. And he loved the crowd. He loved more than me to listen to him sing. So finally, one time we was down there on the way home, and we stopped at this state park, and he got his guitar out, and he was playing, and this couple come and sat down, and they said, "You know, we own a campground, a Christian campground up in Indiana somewhere. Could you come and stay 3 or 4 days and play for our church music and stuff and sing for us?" And he said yes. And when we got vacation, and they was having their camp, and that was the beginning of Buddy singing gospel music. By then he was a Christian. I had prayed for him 19 years, and he sang a lot of gospels just by himself. And then that group heard that Buddy Baird, the country singer, because he did country, had got saved, and he started getting invitations. I tell you what, they would have singings here in New Albany and area around here. Once a month at different churches, anybody could come and sing. Well, Buddy just loved those. So we started going to them. And I talk about boring. I couldn't hardly stand it because everybody could sing. I could have sung. They would let me sing. I said, "No, thank you." But Buddy would sing. And they would appoint them, who's going to sing next, who's going to sing next. Somebody was in charge. And they would save Buddy to the last. But those that was going before Buddy were a pill, because they would get up there to sing, and it went something like this. "Okay, there'll be 2 of them or 3. What are we going to sing this time?" And then the one would look at the other, maybe the son or the mother. "Now, we practiced such and such, so we're going to sing that." "No, I needed to practice on that some more, so let's not sing that one." I mean, and this could go on. "Let's sing this other song." And then they would sing that one. And then maybe they would get up there, somebody's going to sing it, and they'd say, "Well, you know what? Henry was supposed to be here tonight and help me sing this. Is there anybody down there like to come help me sing How Great Thou Art," or whatever they were singing? Could somebody in the audience help? And somebody'd say, "Well, I can." And they'd get up, and now, "Have you got the words?" "Oh, I forgot the words. They're out in the car." And she would say, "I'll run right out and get them." And we'd have to wait. It was the strangest thing I ever saw in my life. But you know what? They loved it. Those country people loved it. They're right around here near us. And then Buddy would get up and sing 2 or 3 songs. And everybody'd say, "You coming next month? Are you coming next month? You make sure you come." He'd say, "I plan on being there." And we would go. And That's the beginnings, kind of how our ministry started, till we ended up full-time on the evangelistic field for 14 years, working for Jesus. And guess what happened? You know, I told you about Carve TV. His name is Cole Continio, something like that. I can't pronounce his last name, but his name's Cole. And now he's 19 years old. And he's on TikTok. And he's on Carve TV. Capital K-A-R-V-E TV. He just talked about me again the other day. But he's on Carve TV, and I look at it every once in a while. And don't you know, on TikTok or Carve TV 1, he sent me a letter. He sent me a long text. And he had checked in on me again. And he put some stuff on about me. And how when he first, what he did was, what he does is he helps people. He's a Christian. He told me this in texting. He said, I prayed that the Lord would send me the people that I could help their tube grow. He said, and I was praying for somebody that would share Jesus in their everyday life, that that's the way they live. And that is the way I live. And he found me. And of course I said some funny things. And so he made clips, and they're still on YouTube somewhere. But he texted me yesterday and checked in on me, and he says, I see you're doing well, still sharing about Jesus, and I am doing well. And he said, I pray for you every day. I mean, he's a praying Christian, 19 years, redheaded, so cute, so handsome, he's been into YouTubing and this kind of stuff ever since he was 8 or 9, young, I don't know, real young. I saw a little video he did. You might look him up. And he was saying something, and somebody answered what he was saying and said, I've been watching you since you was 6 years old, and I knew you would always be a success, and you're doing so great, and everybody's proud of you. And he answered by saying, thanks, Dad. It was from his daddy. His dad was bragging on him right there. So I brag on him too, because he's a good young man, a Christian young man. And he helped one fisherman that didn't have, he was making videos, the fisherman was, and he had practically no subscribers. I had 300 when he picked me up. And I thought that was a lot. I really did. I was thrilled. But now I've got 70,000. But since I have declared I'm a Republican, I've been losing some, but that's okay. I still love them. You know, we pray for one another. And I want all these kids to make up their mind on their own who they're going to vote for. But Cole is such a fine young man, and he helped so many people. And you can look and see if y'all can find that on Carve TV. The people that he has helped. And now they got big YouTube. You know, God has blessed them, and he has blessed them, because he says it don't cost nothing to be kind. Isn't that a good thing to say? It don't cost anything to be kind. Well, I'm going to close this down. But y'all look that up, and I enjoyed visiting down in Tennessee, but we had to get us a camper to stay in, because that way, if we wanted to go to, see, sometimes you go visit people, and guess what? They want to set up till 11 o'clock. I want to go to bed 8 o'clock or earlier sometimes, and I do that. So enjoy the falls, enjoy the lake, or that's not a lake, that's a river, I guess, but it's just coming right on down through there. I have traveled and I've seen things like that, but I enjoy it on TV, and I got to get my TV fixed at my house. No, I'm going to take my CD player and play thunder and lightning and rain on the tin roof and enjoy life. Walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And quite a few of you are telling me you are walking that path, and that's always, I rejoice when I see that, because it's a joy to see people walking the right path and living for the Lord. Honey, where do you go to if you don't have Jesus? I mean, where do you go? Well, I go to him and I pray. So God bless y'all, and I pray for you. Walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. Bye-bye.